Hi, it's the Catholic CEO, Henry Kutarna. Welcome to this Catholic Business Wisdom Series topic today on business concepts in the Catholic economy. This is a complicated topic, and it's going to be a long topic, but I cannot turn it into a 10-hour podcast. I'm going to try to summarize basic elements of the Catholic concepts of business in a Catholic economy. And I'm going to first begin by directing your attention to 6 important documents of the Church. And most of these are, 5 of them are papal encyclicals that I would urge you to look at. One is called Rerum Novarum, and this was published in 1891. You can look it up. They're all online. They're on the Vatican website and elsewhere on the internet. The second one is Quadragesimo Anno in 1931. Another one is Gaudium et Spes, 1965. And another one called Laborum Exercens. And then there's Caritas in Veritate, 2009. There's also a document published by the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops called Economic Justice for All in 1986. These are all guides. They represent various degrees of magisterial teaching on the Church, particularly the encyclicals, because they come from the Pope, and they do represent a composite of Church teaching on this important topic of the Catholic concepts of business and work. I'm going to cover 10 topics today, and these topics are intended to show us, I believe, a path forward to how you can run a Catholic business, fully Catholic, and be successful in business and stay within the ethical and moral limits that the Church places on our activities. And certainly the presumption is that you're a faithful Catholic, you will obey the commandments, you obey the precepts of the Church, and you are listening and being careful to understand the teachings of the Church on various current issues. First topic, the concept of something that is moral and ethical versus legal. Many people in business say, well, it's legal, so I can do it. But the Catholic in business is going to consider in the first place whether it's moral and ethical. In other words, that it's not wrong, that, for example, the laborer is worthy of his hire. There is dignity to work, but we don't exploit. We don't go into business. We don't sell human beings. We don't do human trafficking. We don't do pornography. We don't do drugs. We don't get into business to sell things that are injurious to the body or to the soul. Now, there's delicacy here. For example, could you run a liquor store if you're a Catholic business? Well, it's an interesting question. I wouldn't say that I know that it's a black and white answer. I would say that it's a difficult area because you could be promoting the misuse of those products, which are intended for, one might say, recreational or, relaxation usage. But anything in life can be misused. And so there is a matter of degree here. We know that you wouldn't sell hard drugs in front of an elementary school to children. Of course you wouldn't do that. That would be highly unethical and immoral. But could you sell a case of beer, to a family having a backyard barbecue or a cookout and enjoying, a beverage with their friends and their family? So we can explore that in great detail. But the point is, the first thing is that the Catholic business owner will understand the difference between something that is moral and ethical versus something that is legal. Not everything that's legal is moral and ethical. Second concept for today, profit. Is profit legitimate? Can you earn a profit? Well, I think if we study Catholic teaching, we see that we can do something good for people. We can make a product, we can provide a service, and we can sell it for just and fair compensation. The laborer is worthy of his hire. There is dignity to work. And if you're running a business, you have obligations. Is there something wrong with making a profit? I would say that most church teaching says, no, there's nothing wrong with making a profit. What goes into making a profit? Well, you have to cover all your costs of production. You have to pay, something like a just wage, or at least approaching a just wage, to your employees and your contractors. You need to have working capital so that you can, buy the inputs and make the product and distribute it and sell it and then collect the money. So you have to have some sort of working capital. And therefore, the reward for your efforts is not only your employment, your salary, because you're employing other people as well. There is a just and fair reward called profit margin. And of course, the dilemma comes along the spectrum of how much is too much. We don't answer that today, but we definitely have to think about that and pose the question. Let's move to the third topic, paying a just wage. At some point in history, a just wage was devoted to the situation where the father, the husband, in the traditional Catholic family model, would work. The mother, the wife, would work at the home to educate the children and conduct the affairs of the home, the domestic economy, while the husband and father would work on the farm, in the family business, or at a corporate job in order to bring a salary home for the family. What we have with the expansion of the workforce into all sorts of categories, you can no longer expect to earn a living wage, a just wage, and have only one breadwinner in the family. It's desirable. It is the Catholic model, but in the current economic system, it is often the requirement that two people have to work. So it's not an easy topic, but the Catholic business owner will want to approach paying a just wage. Even if it cannot be done, you will want to do better than the minimum required by the law. So again, we don't have the time to delve into this in great detail, but we do know that there is an issue here and we must address it. Let's move to the fourth topic, simply called ethical behavior. Ethical behavior. Let me use a number of words that will get a reaction from you, I'm sure. Cheating, lying, false representation, exploitive marketing, excessive claims in marketing, and so on. Well, obviously we wouldn't do that, but there's a matter of degree. What whimsical or humorous claim about your product moves from whimsical and humorous in your marketing, let us say, to exaggeration and outright lying or falsely claiming some attribute of your product? Well, again, it's a moral and ethical spectrum, and we're not relativists. We don't believe in, relativism in the sense of two wrongs making a right or any of the other applications of relativism. We believe in a just right and wrong, and we believe in an absolute in that sense. But still, spectrum and the degree of the situation arises from the complexities of our modern world. It's not an easy black and white situation. But usually the answer can be found in black and white application after careful thought and, of course, reflection and prayer. Let's move to the fifth category, warranties, representations. If you have a product or a service and it doesn't quite work, it fails, it doesn't live up to what the claim was, well then you'll make it right. Or you'll, put it another way, you'll keep your promise to your customer because they've paid you for something that they expected and that you said would do a certain thing or provide a certain value. And so a warranty is a concept of keeping your promise and making something right. And so once again, a Catholic business owner would have a generous application of warranty. If the law requires you to have or custom in your, in your industry or your category says that you have a 30-day warranty or a 1-year warranty or a 3-year warranty, well, the Catholic business owner, I presume, would want to do better than that because they wouldn't want to just be legalistic and say, okay, the law says I should do this and that's all I'm going to do. The Catholic business owner would know that the customer has paid money for an expectation, an expected level of service or income, and that is to be delivered. And so if it has not been delivered, it must be delivered. And so, it's not a simple matter of 3-month warranty, 6-month warranty. There are some Catholic business owners that will return a product long after the secular world says it could be returned. And again, it's a matter of judgment. It's a matter of degree, because at some point it becomes an absurdity, right? If you use a product for 5 years and then take it back and expect your money back, well, that's a ridiculous idea. It's an absurdity. But somewhere in that, between those extremes of never doing anything to solve your customer and then having excessive solutions, somewhere in there lies, virtue in the mean type of thing. Item number 6 today, the concept of working together. Unions, there are papal encyclicals about unions. But what about business getting together to buy together and sell together? You've heard us talk about that at the Catholic economy. We believe that it's a powerful way to create a Catholic economy and to provide economic strength so that we can change the law and influence the culture. So collusion, to cheat or lie or to do wrong things or to exploit, of course that's wrong. But banding together to gain an advantage by perhaps getting better pricing or offering better pricing if we're buying inputs and supplies, it's a matter of judgment. Once again, we could do that to gain advantage and to band together without straying into the moral and ethical dangers of that. It's possible. Let's move to the 7th item, virtue, the cardinal virtues, prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance. The theological virtues, faith, hope, and charity. All of our activities in business should be guided by virtue, the search for virtue, the direction to head towards a virtuous life. And a virtuous life, because we cannot separate the person and the business, even though a corporation is a legal fiction, it's considered a person under the law, but it's not a real person, as you know. It's still required that we act in full compliance with virtue. We search for virtue in our life, and we don't check that at the door when we walk into the office or the factory or the plant. We don't. We have to, as Catholics, live our Catholic faith, including our search for virtue, continually and constantly, no matter what we're doing, whether we're at home, whether we're sleeping, whether we're at the office, at the factory, or at the plant. We must govern ourselves in terms of the virtuous behaviors that is expected of us. And that is a constant daily challenge in business. Here's another one, topic number 8. The business concept of getting rich or making wealth. What if we're successful in business and many people want our product and we charge a fair price and we do everything right, but we have a lot of money. Revenue flows in, company grows, we start to be able to produce dividends, and we find that we're selling millions and millions of dollars worth and we've become wealthy and rich. Well, again, there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that in terms of the teachings of the Catholic Church. But as you know, there are parables, there are stories in the Gospels about the challenge. You've heard of the camel passing through the eye of a needle, that image of our Lord telling somebody that it is easier for a rich man to enter into heaven than for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. You also have the parable of the rich young man whom Jesus loved and who went away and couldn't follow Jesus because he was so enamored of his wealth and could not give it up. This is the point. The objectivity of being wealthy, and there's nothing wrong with it, but the incredible challenge that it poses for you and the risk to your soul is that you could be diverted from the good. You could be appealing to your base desires, greed or avarice or self-centeredness or anything like that. But if you are wealthy and you have the virtues of charity and you take care of other people and you work for the common good using the resources that God has given you and the talents that he's given you, well, then you're on your way to saving your soul. And the point is, just to summarize, there is nothing wrong with becoming wealthy or rich in a legitimate way. If you cheat and lie your way to that, well, you are on the road to perdition, as they say. You're definitely on the road to ruin. If you are able to focus your attention on the good of others and share your resources and give to charity, perhaps tithing or some other ways to formally give to the less fortunate, the disadvantaged, you could use your wealth for the common good. To motivate yourself, though, to gain some wealth simply for the purpose of living a fine lifestyle, getting the houses and the toys and the cars and all that stuff, that is not the right objective. That's not the way to do it. So once again, in business, to be a Catholic and successful in business, there's nothing wrong with it. There's much good that could come from it. There's much economic power that could come from it, but the risk is high. And so one needs to be very attentive. Topic number 9 for today. Something like cornering the market, arranging supply so that you control most of the supply of something. Like the diamond market. If you know anything about the diamond market, you know that there is a limited number of diamonds in the world, and the price is artificially high because the producers, the people who mine and store and hold the diamond industry, have cornered the market. They disperse supply only on a very regulated, carefully constructed basis to keep it rare. And that is why the price of a diamond ring, for example, is very high compared to another type of stone. And so, is that a cornering of the market? Is there something unethical in that? Well, if you delve into it, you will see, I think quite readily, where there is a legal advantage, but a moral disadvantage. Let's take a look at a similar example, with the ride sharing. I remember first hearing about the concept of, if you want to get a ride share vehicle to come and pick you up at a New Year's party at 2 a.m, when all the bars close and everybody's kind of going home from their night of celebratory work. And by the way, a Catholic wouldn't be at one of those anyway. They would be at adoration at a parish that has, New Year's Eve adoration and prayers to the Holy Ghost for the success of the coming year. Anyway, surge pricing, the concept of surge pricing, where suddenly a ride home from a New Year's party, where there's a scarcity of ride-sharing vehicles and a huge surplus, a great number of people looking for that, what has happened? Well, there's a concept of surge pricing. And so a ride home that normally costs, let's say, pick a number here, $99, suddenly is worth $1,000 because there's a rare confluence of this factor. Well, is that immoral and unethical? Probably. Is it an economic phenomenon that is explained by the rational economic theory? Sure. It's a pricing strategy. When there's a high demand for a limited product or limited service, what happens? The classical economic theory says that the price increases, and so it does. Point is that right? Is it wrong? And so I offer those kinds of examples for your consideration. Item 10 for today, the topic of justice or social responsibility. Very challenging because there is now a tendency for the doctrines of the church and the teachings of the Catholic faith to be hijacked and to follow a secular agenda. So undue emphasis on the worship of nature is a problem. And you know what I'm talking about. All you have to do is look around and listen to what people are telling you must do in order to be a Christian or even a Catholic. You have to turn your air conditioning down. You have to not drive. You have to walk. You have to give up certain conveniences. That's not necessarily true. And the wise Catholic business person listens carefully to what is actually socially responsible versus what is politically motivated. And this is an extreme challenge for Catholics because we cannot be governed by the politics of the day or the popular politics of a certain kind of orientation that is extant in this generation versus 300 years ago, when certain features of the economic system were not as important as they are today. You know where I'm going. The social responsibility topic is very complex. So you see, we've covered so much in a few minutes of Catholic business concepts in the Catholic economy. These are all worthy of great thought and careful attention. They're worthy of prayer. They're worthy of your time in adoration to contemplate and to think about these things and to discuss with your key investors, if you have them, your key business partners, your family, your spouse, if you're in a family business, your children, the moral and ethical way to be Catholic and successful in business. I still maintain, and I believe that I have increasing proof as I talk to people every day, every week, that we can be Catholic and successful in business. We can do all the things that are in accord with church teaching, that are not inimical to the state of our soul, and we can still run successful businesses, make profit, and do good with it, and support our families, and create employment for people, and do important works to provide a service and a product, and to fulfill the needs of our fellow man. We can do all of that, I believe strongly, but it requires a careful attention to it. Will you lose compared to the person who is sharply, cutting corners and cheating? Sure, in that sense, you'll lose, but you will gain your soul. You won't lose your soul. You'll gain, and you'll also gain in virtue, which is the primary focus that we should have as business people. We should continue to grow in virtue, and we should exemplify that and model that for our colleagues and our employees and those who depend upon us, such as our family. So there you go. It's a very complicated topic. Much more could be said. We will cover more of this during the Catholic Business Wisdom series. So thanks again for joining us today. It's the Catholic CEO, Henry Kutarna. God bless you and your business, and we'll see you next time.